Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I have an interesting article, and it's unverifiable because it comes from the intelligence community. And whatever comes from the intelligence community, you can't really verify because they will say the information is classified, top secret, we can't disclose it, it's still under investigation, and shut up. We're not going to tell you anything. Therefore, they can say whatever they want. All intelligence agency, not only the American ones, or the British, but I saw this in United States of America when you have CIA, FBI directors. They're brought forth in front of a commission, investigative commission, senatorial investigative commission, and they're asked questions and they say yes, no, we know this, we know that, and when they're asked to bring details and evidence, well, I can't disclose it. But that means nothing. Then you can disclose it, you don't bring the evidence, you can claim whatever. You can claim that, I don't know, I'm a Russian asset, or you are a Russian asset, and you don't have to provide any evidence. That's right. So here we have the intelligence services of Russia, which act, I'm assuming, the same way. Why? Because it's the same kind of business. It depends on how much power they have in the country. And they have a lot of power here, that's for sure. And I'm assuming over there as well, because without them, you cannot really function. That's what, 4 pillars that a leader must have, a dictator or an authoritarian. You have 4 pillars in order to be able to that you rule. You have the business community, you have the mass media, you have the military, and the intelligence services. If you need this, the circle is complete. You rule with no problem. As I said, mass media, the information, you got the military, pam pam pam, you got the intelligence and arresting you, and then, as I said, that's all. I mean, I missed one. Which one was it? Mass media, military, intelligence services, and then it was the money, the finance. You have all this, you're good. So let's go back here. This article comes from Sputnik, and it says that U.S. plans to send terrorists to Russia and CIS countries to target officials, Intel Services says. Now this is the I don't know how you call it. I don't know what exactly is S, but I know it is the independent countries. S, I don't know, not association, not organization. I can't remember the S, what that stands for. So the U.S. military is recruiting jihadists, fighters, to carry out terrorist attacks on the territory of Russia and CIS countries, the Russian Foreign Intelligence Services, SVR, said in a statement. According to credible data received by the Foreign Intelligence Services of Russia, the U.S. military is actively recruiting militants from jihadist groups affiliated with Daesh, ISIS, I think that's what it is, and Al-Qaeda to carry out terrorist attacks in Russia and the CIS countries. Particular attention is paid to attracting people from the Russian North Caucasus and Central Asia to cooperation, end quote, the SVR said in a statement. In January, the United States recruited 60 militants, the statement said, adding that after training at the U.S. Al-Tanf military base in Syria. Hey, I know U.S. has a military base in Syria. Oh yeah, that's the one illegal base, not invited, not approved by the Syrian government. That's great. Oh, I thought Syria is a independent sovereign country. Yeah, okay. When it's about everybody else, when we are at it, no. They are planned to be sent to Russia and other CIS countries to carry out terrorist attacks against diplomats and security officials. And I'm quoting, there they are taught how to make and use improvised explosive devices, as well as how to conduct sabotage and subversive activities. Particular attention is paid to planning attacks on well-guarded facilities, including foreign diplomatic missions, end quote, the intelligence agency explained. U.S. security agency obsessed with the, and I'm quoting, crazy idea of exsanguinating, probably getting blood out of Russia, draining Russia of blood, consider it acceptable to use terrorists for their own purpose, the SVR said. Sanguinating, X-sanguinating. Yeah, I know sanguine needs blood, so plus X probably sucking the blood out of it, draining it. Or maybe, by making it bleed. And I'm quoting, to death. We see a definite loss, I'm quoting, of any moral principles in the U.S. security services, obsessed with the insane idea of exsanguinating Russia. Washington strategists consider it acceptable to use terrorists directly for their own dirty purposes. Such action put Washington on a par with major international terrorist groups, end quote, the release said. Now, as I said, this is what the Russians say. It doesn't mean that that's true, but I will put it together with some other information regarding past. It doesn't mean that necessarily it occurs now if it occurred in the past. This isn't the first time that SVR has reported that the U.S. is cooperating with terrorists. In May 2022, the intelligence services revealed that Washington was actively recruiting ISIS members, Daesh members, to participate in hostilities in Ukraine as mercenaries. According to the SVR, jihadist special forces were trained to carry out sabotage ops against the Russian armed forces of Ukraine. In April 2022, about 6 Daesh fighters aged 20 to 25 were released from prisons controlled by Syrian Kurds with the participation of U.S. intelligence services. Then these terrorists underwent combat training to then be deployed to Ukraine. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's kind of like, let's see. The Russian intelligence agency warned that at the time that the U.S. Al-Tanf base in Syria has turned into a terrorist hub, quote unquote, where around 500 militants loyal to the United States and other jihadists were also trained for transferring to Ukraine. The intelligence services stressed that priority was given to people of Transcaucasia and Central Asia, and I'm quoting. The training course at Al-Tanf includes training in the use of available types of anti-tank missile systems, reconnaissance and strike drones MQ-1C, advanced communications and surveillance equipment, and quote, the SVR said at the time. Now, this asterisk here, a terrorist group outlawed in Russia and many other countries. That was the Daesh, whatever, and Al-Qaeda right here. So this is what they say. This is like, let's say you have a CIA and telling you, or someone giving you a communication, and the CIA thinks that the Russians are doing this. What would you say? I'm pretty sure that a lot of people here will just, yeah. They will believe it. Why? The only thing starts from, we're good, they're bad. So you can give these guys a little bit of balls fondling. We're the good guys. And let me tell you what happens over there. I just wrote it down right now. Here it is. And you go, oh, okay, I like it. Yeah, go ahead. That's what it is. But if the other guys come with something that would be considered crazy, that's crazy. Maybe it is. I don't know. I don't have the evidence. Probability, 100%. Possibility, I don't know, 50%. And the same, the vice versa. And now I will tell you something else. It was an interview with Putin. I know, the bad guy, nothing to be trusted, but it just drew my attention when he was not a bad dude. In those times when he was not a bad dude, now he's a bad dude, when he was, kind of okay, he didn't jump the gun, he followed the script to a certain extent, but not really. And these guys knew, so they started, okay, now this guy is gonna go that way too much, we have to or. So it was chosen. He got too crazy. So what happened? Putin, in one of these interviews, was it an interview? Or it was I can't remember, but you can find it on the internet, on YouTube actually, where he said something about Caucasus. And he said that we know, I think it was after Georgia invaded, about 2 years or so, he said invaded South Ossetia, and that's what I mean. What happened, it was Putin said, we can't forget, and we know, I know, he said, I was one of those in St. Petersburg, Van Dial, the Van whatever meeting. He said, we know, I know that there were Western partners, operatives, that he said, agents, training and recruiting this kind of people in this kind of territories and sent them to the Caucasus to create problems. And they had that he was talking about Chechen war. He said, we knew, I know, he said, I worked then. I think he was in the KGB, whatever it was after that. He said, I know information that these agents, I can't remember if he said CIA or said Western services recruited these guys to plant them and send them, recruit them over there. So doesn't mean that's true either. But when I read the title of this article, my first went over there and you can say, well, it's just self-fulfilling prophecy. I mean, nothing over there. Well, could be, but as I said, if you traveled a little bit around the block a few times, you kind of know what's possible and what's not possible. You didn't have to walk it yourself, but if you read a few good books, you don't have to listen to Putin. He's saying whatever he says. He is defending Russia. That's his purpose. Whatever he does over there, he is in charge of that. The same with Biden. Biden's job is to defend the United States and so on. And it's normal. He said it many times. My job here is I'm the Russian president. That's my job. I have my interest. You have your interest. So you can imagine that Putin says whatever is necessary to defend his interest and whatever he sees, interest by association. So in this case, that drew me attention, the title here, to that interview that he gave. And as I said, it's not impossible whatsoever. I think it's 100% possible, but probable, I say 50%. Again, if you look back in history, you're going to find incidents even worse than what these guys are claiming. Oh my God, that's going to happen. And if you want a good example, a great example, and kind of modern example, look at the so-called, a revolution from Romania from 1989, from December. And they say, well, it was a spontaneous mass demonstration. People that were unhappy with the Ceausescu dictator, they just decided to somehow overthrow everything, and then the crazies started shooting, and the military shot at the crazies, and then it was the security forces, the secret police of Ceausescu who was fighting, killing Romanians and so on. Well, it was not like that. It was not like that at all. But books are coming, and people who are little by little allowed to speak about who entered, what kind of countries discussed, what kind of agents entered in Romania before that. I know that for a fact. Okay, for a fact. There were people coming from Soviet Union at that time in a Lada car, male adults pouring into Romania from Soviet Union, and they were from Hungary as well, coming from the West. They poured in when the whole thing exploded in Bucharest. Eventually, these guys were already on their positions. So it was, and that's why they couldn't find one terrorist. They say, well, terrorists killed 9,000 people, 10,000, 100,000, blah, 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 blah. All these things were just fictions. There were not 100,000 people killed. Oh, we have the terrorists. They didn't catch one. I haven't seen one on the TV saying, okay, did you see anybody judged as a terrorist? Have you seen any? How come? They captured terrorists, which were agents speaking different languages. So, these things, and that was understanding between the big dogs, not blah, 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 blah. And Romania was supposed to this at that time. But the military stayed together. That was the whole point. Unfortunately, with GRU, General Militaru, who was a Russian Soviet agent. They knew, I don't know why they didn't take care of him like you take care of a traitor. There are laws for treason, if you know what I mean. United States too. So anyway, I'm very familiar with certain things, so this thing doesn't seem anything out of the ordinary. What I'm looking for, or not looking, I want to see if indeed this kind of sabotage things will occur. If that, then I would say, okay, see, because I don't think now Americans going to say, Jesus Christ, man, they found out. Stop everything, calm down, no. They're gonna send them because they don't really care who these guys are, what they do over there. Just go and do whatever you do best, what we trained you. And that happened in many. Remember the how do you call that? The Gulf of Pigs, wasn't that's how it was called under Kennedy, when the CIA trained Cubans to invade the Bay of Pigs, not the Gulf, the Bay of Pigs. Remember? And they went over there, and Fidel Castro was waiting for them. Took care of all of them. Not that Fidel Castro was a good guy. I don't think he was a good guy. He got good things and bad things, like we all did. But that was a mistake, and supposedly Kennedy did not even know about that. Supposedly. But anyway, didn't they train those guys? Didn't they send them with weapons? The guys were waiting for them over there. Poor training, poor planning. That's why it was. Remember that. Look into it if you don't know. Bay of Pigs incident in Cuba. So anyway, the same thing here. Doesn't surprise me. And according to Putin, it happened before. And not only to Putin. Do some little click, and you're going to find out more about the Caucasus terrorist planted by certain kind of Western services during the Chechen war and try to destabilize and so on. And remember, when you see those explosions in Moscow that occurred, I don't know, a few years ago, they were called citizens from the Caucasus. These are the guys. Now you say, oh, crazy Chechens or Dagestanis or whatever you say. Yeah, could be. But anyway, just look into it. I'm waiting to see. And I will let you know. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.